morning, everyone. Is it morning? Lunchtime? Happy lunchtime, everybody. Good to see you all. I'm Caroline, as most of you know, Caroline Herbert. I'm the locality lead for the North. I'm just here as the host for the day, and to introduce you to Gillian Bald, who's going to run us through the Therapies team redesign and how we might be able to include some parents in that thinking through the groups and activities that we're involved with. You can turn your cameras off probably for some of it if you want to eat your sandwiches. It is lunch and learn. I'm going to be eating my lunch, but I am going to be learning as well. So over to you, Gillian, and we'll see what we find out.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. Thanks for that. So my name's Jill Bald. I'm the Send Voice lead, and we have been working with parent and carers, and they've sort of come up with and helped us come up with a bit of a workshop that we could use for parent carers. We do have an online form, so that is embedded into this presentation, so you could use that. And I know that some of our parent carers don't have access to the internet and things like that, but it could be something that could maybe done as a sort of one-to-one activity with somebody, and if you would prefer to do that, if that's appropriate. But what I'm going to go through today is something that you could do either one-to-one, one-to-two, or maybe in small groups, which is similar questions that we have on the online form, but just in a very simple activity that can be done very simply, very, very much like sorting answers in a very simple way. So I'm just going to go through that. I mean, it will be really obvious to you as I'm doing it. So I hope I'm not sort of, you know, I don't want to sort of teach you to suck eggs. You'll absolutely understand it as soon as I start going through it. It's a really simple process, but also it's just the questions, and you can think of numerous different ways that you might be able to use those questions and to get some of those answers. All we ask is that you record it so that we can get an idea of what people think, so that we can really start to build on the Therapies redesign in a way that is really suitable for our parent carers. Now, all the questions that we've got in this are the usual things our parents, or that we already know are a big thing for our parent carers. So we're not, you know, we're using some questions that we already know, but there will be options for us to get those other things that we don't already know, that your parent carers might have a view on. So that's just as important as anything, and all we ask is that you record it and let us have that back. So Ed is going to be our man who you send everything to. So thanks, Ed. Ed, are you going to share my little PowerPoint thing, and we'll just go through it and then questions at the end, if that's all right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ed. Right. So yes, we're trying to redesign our therapies, you know, and so that it's an offer, and it's not just lots of different organisations with their own, you know, the way of working, that we work as a whole, working together so that our families have one access, simple access to the things that they need for them and their children and young people. So let's go on to the next page then. And so this is just about supporting those families who use our therapies. So we want to have a new system, and we want to know what it could look like for them, what would work really well for them. And so, as I said before, it will work well as either one-to-one or in a short group, small group discussion. Depends on how you work with your families. You know, you use it in any way that you think suitable, or, you know, this is the link to the online survey. Please use that if you would prefer. If you think you could get that up, say like on a tablet or on a something you can access, and you can enable the parent to access it that way too. Up to you. Okay, thanks, Ed. So it's an opportunity to have that informal conversation. We don't want to make this formal and like, ooh, you know, this is a ticky boxy thing, but it's about what's important to them, not what's important to us. So what you'll see that there are statements in speech bubbles, and they get placed against the level of importance cards. So it's a bit of like a sorting game, really. So if you can show the next slide, Ed. So these are the level of importance cards, and you will be sent, or you have been sent, I'm hoping, the workshop outline that also has these cards embedded. Just a question of photocopying them off and cutting them up and laying them out on the table. So, you know, and we just want to know, is it important to you, not important, or you're not sure? And just have that conversation, easy conversation about why isn't it, you know, what might be important to you, and why is that, so that we can get that information back. And just, if you can take notes, that's absolutely fantastic, or you might want to use sticky notes, or whichever way works best for you. That's good for us, so thank you. Next slide then, please, Ed. So the level of importance cards, they're on the table, and then all the speech bubbles can be sorted underneath. And as we go through, you'll see that for each area that we want information around, there are some speech bubbles. So these are the things that our parent carers have already told us. So it's just a question of us finding out what is the most important for our parent carers to get right for them if we are redesigning our services. Next slide, Ed. So this is about finding out in the initial, you know, the initial stages, finding out what can help my child. That sort of first contact, what works for you. So this is what some of our parents have already told us, that having a single online form to make inquiries, that came out as a real top thing. A single contact number so that I can phone up and speak to somebody straight away who might be able to help me. So that's something. A simple website that explains the process to me in a way I can understand. That was a real key thing that came out of what our parent carers have told us already. And being able to speak to other parents who have children with similar therapy needs. So there's something about how can we, you know, support that to happen. So those are the things that came out about that first contact, and there may be you know, we're hoping that you might be able to get us some other ideas as well, other than those ones, and that's just a starting point really. So those speech bubbles, you'll have them on in the workshop outline that you can photocopy off, and they can just be sat underneath those level of importance cards. Okay, next slide, Ed. So that whole idea about teasing out other things that might be important to our parents, because we know those are some of the top things that we've been told for that area, but we also have like a little bit of a light bulb card that you could maybe come up with any other things that might be a worry or need to be addressed, or they're just sort of comments about things that they really want to see working better for them, that would really help them or would have helped them, because you may well work with some families that are right on their journey in terms of supporting their child or young person through our systems. So you know, we want to tease out as much information as possible, because we really want to get it right together, and being able to hear what our parents say is absolutely crucial to us doing that. So next slide, please, Ed. So this is the light bulb card. Tell us about your own ideas for first contact with therapies. So that first, you know, when you first need to find something out, what would you want to see us do really well in order to make that happen well for you, and you're not going around in circles and not knowing where to look. So that's the light bulb card for that one. Okay, Ed, next slide, please. So the next sort of section of questions is about getting the information that you need. What's important? What is important to you now, or what might have been important when you were first trying to find things out? So it's like being able to speak to a person who can help me find what I might need. Easy self-help information about things to try at home. So these are things that we've already been told. Having clear information about therapy options and what to expect, because I think actually some people sort of have said to us that we didn't know what to expect, we didn't understand that there was a waiting list, and you know, it's that not knowing and not having that open, honest sort of information in front of you. So being able to find out all the information about all the therapies your child might need. So it's like not just, you know, I need to go into this place, this place, this place. We were able to sort of explain that in one clear way. And being clear about what the requirements for assessments and interventions are, that's something that people felt that they didn't really understand very well. So that is getting the information. So we also got, do you want to go on to the next slide, Ed? We've also got light bulb about that. What is it, you know, what are your ideas about getting the right information at the right time for you? What would that look like? So that might be something that we could ask those extra questions around. So next slide then, Ed. So really the R's area is about making sure that you have all the things that you need under the banner of children's therapies. And we're sort of really aware that what our parents have told us is it's all those other things, that holistic approach to supporting your child or your young person. So that could be around mental health and well-being. It could be about activities that help a child or a young person socialise and have friendships. And we know from what our young people have told us that actually is a massively big area for them, that, you know, that is one of the most important things and most protecting factors for them. And how to make friends. We know that our young people have told us a lot about that they feel that they don't know enough about how to make friends. And also the other thing is around having many more informal groups that are SEND friendly, and how, you know, those are the things that we've been told by our parent carers so far that are really important in terms of having that broader look at what children's therapy could be. It's all those, that holistic view. So it'd be really interesting for us if you could also ask that and find out if people have any other ideas around what other things should be included under therapies. So next slide, please, Ed. So again, it's that, tell us your own ideas for access and all the different things that you would like to see around, you know, under the banner of therapies. Should it just be the therapies, or could it also include some of those wider holistic things? So thank you, Ed. On to the next one. Okay, and so what we also would like to do, and that is if you are working with people that were, you know, that actually have got a lot to say, are eager to be involved further, then we really would love to do that. And so we are asking you to ask for contact details, and if people want to leave their contact details, we can then link them in and they can see how we carry on with the design, and they can get information about what we're doing next. And so we do that feedback so that they can see how what they've told us is being used to help design the new therapist portal or way of working in the city. So next slide then, Ed, thank you. So, and as I said before, this is just a guide. You do not have to use it this way, but those are the sort of areas that the questions that we'd really like to get some information around. So if you have any ideas about how you might do that, absolutely fantastic. Please do it your way, because you know your families really well, and you know what would work. So please do that, but please record your results. And the way that, you know, that I've certainly done similar sort of workshop style during lockdown with our schools when we were working with primary children and getting their views about different things. And what worked really well was that you did the workshops and then the teachers just took a photograph of the layout of, you know, like where the questions were and, you know, what was said, and then just emailed them to us. So you can email them to Ed. If you do that, so that you don't have, there's no laborious, oh, I've got to collate all this information now. Oh, what a bore. You don't have to do that. Just take a photo, send it in. Obviously, if you want to collate it, fantastic, but you don't have to. Okay, you could just send us a photo, or you can just, if you want to, sit with somebody and use the form online. And that's or see if somebody wants to do that themselves. That's absolutely brilliant too. So I think really that's it. And just any questions, if anybody wants to ask any questions about the process, where we are, you know, and, you know, if you need any help with anything, you can always get in touch with me. Absolutely happy to help with anything. So any questions, anybody? Yeah, hi Jill.
Hi, thank you for that. Yeah, I liked those things. I thought it was quite simple to use and really quite visual, which was great. I was just wanted to ask, because actually you've posed some really good questions. Would we be able to get the feedback as well? Just thinking we are kind of for our, so that we could also help. I'm just thinking some of our families, you know, some of our interventions and groups are for all children, and we would also be able to have, you know, be more accessible to families and kind of overcome any barriers. So I know we might be collecting it, but it would be good to get a more wider view, just to think about actually does that help us to enable families to access some of the things that we do as well, given the feedback that you'll receive. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, what we'll be doing is when we get all the, you know, when we get the information back from the online questionnaire and from any of the workshops that you guys might do and other people might do, then what we'll do is we'll pull that into a little bit of a graphic report so that you can get that feedback with the key things that have come out of that. Just so that it's really easily to communicate that back to your parent carers as well that have been involved in this, because that's the thing, isn't it? It's like they're also will want to know what is going to be different then, you know, the so what, you know, so we need to make, you know, we need to make sure we feed that back.
Brilliant, that's really good. It would be good to know what local people think, so thank you, that's great. You've answered the question.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's the idea. We'll pull it all together and you'll all get that, because Ed, you've got a mailing list, haven't you, for everybody?
I will do, but if anyone wants to send me an email, just so I have their email, then that'd be helpful too.
That'd be good. Just make sure that we can, you know, distribute things back out the way. Hi, sorry, I can't see your name.
It'll be me. It's Anne-Marie.
Oh, hi, Anne-Marie.
Hi, yeah, there. I love the resources that you've put together, first of all, but apologies if I've missed this because I had to go and answer the door. But it's a, you know what you're like when you're at home. Is there a time scale on this, Jill?
Well, you know, obviously, as soon as we can get some of this done, the better. You know, so that we can start, you know, building this into the, you know, how we're developing things. So, you know, so as soon as you can would be great, but obviously we're now into a holiday period, so, you know, we might be working differently across the holiday, so we understand that we'll be back in, you know, we are looking now into the new term. So if we, you know, if we can get everything together, you know, by the end of next term, that would be really useful, I think.
That's great, thank you.
Anybody else got anything that they would like to sort of say, or any views about how they could use it, you know? Because, you know, you can use it in different, you know, you don't have to stick with that format. It's just a guide, really, you know, just so that you can, you know, try things out. Good.
Yeah, I can see it's a really good sort of conversation starter, like you said. I think that's really helpful. I suppose for me, I think this is like probably a really, really basic question, but just in terms of the therapies team, could you give us a quick, like, what falls under that? Because obviously we've got speech and language, we've got also, you know, that catch-all means things to different people from different angles. So like in terms of this restructure, what falls under that umbrella?
Well, I think that is the question we're asking our families, isn't it? What do you think? I mean, obviously you've got the usual suspects, your speech and language, your physio, you know, those sorts of therapies. But then are there other things that we do that really should fit underneath that? And it's like, how does that umbrella look? So that's what we mean by, you know, that sort of holistic view on what therapies are, so that, you know, because some of that early help or early information wouldn't necessarily sit with the therapies themselves. It might actually be other people that deliver that sort of work.
Mm.
So, you know, that's what we're looking at the moment. What will that offer look like? Who are the key players around, you know, who will be underneath that umbrella? And we really do want to know what our parent carers think about that, because they will have a really good view, because hopefully you'll be working with parent carers who might be new on their journey, but you also will be probably working with some that have been, you know, through quite a number of things with different age ranges of children, and have a huge amount of experience of waiting lists and, you know, maybe not such a positive, you know, sort of experience really, because we know that things have been very, very difficult, you know, very in, you know, a number of our therapies. So we, you know, we understand that some of these conversations might be quite hard, you know, because people might be quite angry about having to wait for a long time. But it's about what do we do as well to support people if they do have to wait, and what, you know, what things work for them, you know. So you know, it's that, and it's that, I think some of the things that have come out of the you know, the first bit of work that we've done has been that open and honesty about what to expect. So you know, so we do know quite a bit, but we just really want to make sure that we hear from perhaps those parent carers that wouldn't necessarily do an online form, or, you know, work with us in other ways.
Yeah. Okay, that's helpful. I was thinking then in that conversation about also how do we involve our practitioner in that kind of conversation, because I think certainly from the kind of early help and children families Newcastle end, that's often things that kind of plonk into our laps, that we do a bit of like, well, what are we supposed to do, you know, during this sort of waiting time. And I think that sort of support while waiting is a conversation that we kind of need to have jointly, isn't it?
It is, definitely.
And so, whether there's something we want to do, in the autumn around that would be really useful. Yeah.
Well, that would be really important to feed that into the working group, actually. So some of those questions would be really useful to, you know, I mean, it might be that what we do is that we do a small sort of, maybe, I don't know how you would want to do that. I mean, we could ask about what people feel about that, and, you know, what their views are, and what's, you know, what they feel what could be possible, you know, in terms of that support. You know? So
I suppose it's from kind of our piece of the pie, you know, like where we feel, where sometimes we do feel a bit flummoxed, like which I know happens across the city, that we kind of sit there and go, oh, well, what is there? What can we do? And not saying there's, you know, there's always lots of things as well that we can tie people into, but sometimes you do just feel like, well, what else, and what do people need? Yeah,
that's a really, really good point. And I suppose that's part of where we need to be working so much better across the board, you know, and that is like our health colleagues, our social care colleagues, and, you know, our voluntary sector colleagues. How do we make sure that we really knit together well, and that we understand what each other's doing? And I certainly know that comes out in a lot of things that we're currently talking about around our, you know, new 5-year SEND strategy that we're working on at the moment. So there is, you know, there is a lot of, you know, sort of a push to really look at how we knit things together in a much better way than we do currently. So I would hope that SEND strategy will also help us in terms of how we work together in a different way. So I know I haven't, you know, I can't give any answers to that, only to say that I would hope that those, you know, we're at a point with sort of redesigning quite key areas of our world of SEND that should really make a massive impact on the support that our families get earlier. And that's the whole point of us unpicking everything. And it's, as you can imagine, it's not easy when you've got so many different sort of health trusts and different organisations who are massive, and used to working in a certain way, and we're trying to unpick and say, right, well, we need to work in a different way now. But that is happening at the moment. And, you know, it's a slow process, as you can imagine. So that's why I'm saying, you know, as long as we can get some things back by the end of next term, I think that would be fantastic. You know, obviously the earlier the better, in terms of the therapies redesign, but we would, you know, we really, we need this to be ongoing as well. So it's not just, oh, we're just doing it now because we're redesigning it, but it's how do we build this way of working for all our families as we go forward around the whole therapies sort of offer. So that is something that we really want to do. So we're really committed to that. So, anyway, it's been brilliant to see you all, and thank you so much for giving up your lunchtime to do this. And I hope that's been helpful. And then Ed, we can maybe use this recording if there's any of your, you know, colleagues that haven't been able to attend, because I know it's a really busy week this week. Please, can you share the link just so that they get a view for what, you know, of how to use it and what we plan to do. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much,
Brilliant.
Jim. That's been really helpful.
Okay.